Anne Hathaway's cottage is one of the most beloved attractions in Stratford-upon-Avon. With its over 500-year history and ties to William Shakespeare, it remains a cultural touchstone for anyone drawn to Anne and William's enduring legacy. But there is another side to this place. One that envelops us as we wander through its cottage gardens, orchards, and the sculpture trail inspired by Shakespeare's plays. It is the quiet magic of green outdoor spaces. This is a story of care, change, and responsibility. This is Anne Hathaway's Cottage Gardens, Unveiled. Winter might look like a quiet time, but for the gardens team, it's one of the busiest.
Winter's actually not as quiet a period for the garden team as people think. Although we're quieter in the sense of there are less visitors around, it's actually a really busy time for us. So winter is the time where we are setting the groundwork for the following year. It's all preparation. We're mulching beds, tidying up, pruning. The work that we do each winter is what sets us up for the following year.
The aim is not just to prepare the gardens for spring, but to do so in ways that reduce impact and increase resilience. That includes composting all green waste, reducing chemical use, and building natural soil health.
So for me, that balance between preserving the historic structures and kind of doing our environmental work kind of sits naturally very much together. The Tudors were much more sustainable in terms of what they did, so they used a lot more natural materials. So I know our estates teams, when they look after our houses, they use those sustainable processes to look after them. So it may seem that they're pulling in slightly different directions, but actually bringing together the history and the biodiversity and the sustainability actually works really well together.
One of the most ambitious projects this year is the replanting of the Ellen Willmott beds. Once overrun with bindweed, they are now being cleared and reimagined.
We are currently in the process of clearing each bed and treating them, making sure that we get rid of all the bindweed. And in the spring, the plan is to replant with a planting scheme which is made up of a mixture of plants that we know Ellen Willmott used in her own garden at Worley Place, plants that are named for her. She was a prolific sort of supporter of plant hunters and spent a huge amount of her own money sending people on plant hunting expeditions. As a result, there are lots of plants that their Latin names contain either Willmott or Worley, as sort of a nod to her as thanks for funding projects. The other thing we have is plants that have the right feel for the space. So we have a couple of paintings and images of the garden when it was first redesigned by Ellen Willmott in the 1920s, and we're using those to select plants that have the right feel for the space. So whether that's sort of cottage plants in the right colour scheme, we know that it was pastel colours, quite sort of soft romantic planting. So we've chosen things that fit that as well. And I'm really excited to see how that all pulls together in the spring, because we're sort of phase one of planting this spring.
Willmott, a pioneering plantswoman, was instrumental in shaping the gardens here in the 1920s. Now, her legacy is growing again, one plant at a time. As the days lengthen and the soil begins to warm, the gardens shift. Colour returns, wildlife stirs.
I think for me the most exciting thing in the gardens is always the first time that I see a bee fly each year, which sounds really silly, but they're I don't know, they're always quite early. And they're really exciting, and they are actually a member of the fly family, not bees, but they're quite fluffy like a bee, which is a disguise and also works very well for their PR because it makes them look a lot cuter than an average fly. But yeah, so whenever I see those, that's always nice because that's a sign that things are warming up and that spring is properly on its way.
Much of this life is easy to overlook, but some of the smallest creatures are doing the biggest jobs.
Moths are really important to ecosystems because they provide food for other creatures. So without the moths, things like birds, bats, even hedgehogs, badgers, and toads and reptiles would all suffer because they all have moths as part of their diet.
David Brown is the county recorder for moths in Warwickshire. He has spent years studying these often misunderstood creatures and what they reveal about the world around us.
If there's something wrong with the environment, a reduction in moths is very evident straight away. Yes, the moths at Anne Hathaway's cottage this morning have been interesting. It's been a good diverse range of species, but one of the ones in particular is orange footman, which we saw at least 5 or 6 individuals of, and that is an interesting moth because that suggests that the air quality is becoming cleaner here, because its larval food plant is lichens growing on tree trunks and branches, and the fact that it disappeared for 100 years in Warwickshire between 1902 and 2002 and has now come back strong with the cleaner air is indication that everything is healthy in the environment here at Anne Hathaway's cottage.
One of the core ideas guiding this site is simple. Don't force nature to behave. Observe it and work with it. That mindset shaped the Wilding area, a once ordinary patch now home to insects, birds and native plants.
So one of the projects that I worked on that really changed my perspective, the Wilding area, and when we've been looking at some other spaces as well, and it was when I was very new to the job and I just wanted to plant trees everywhere, because I think when we think about helping the environment, that's what a lot of people think you have to do, is you just have to plant trees. And planting trees is not always the answer, because it just, if you just do that, it's just going to give you this kind of really monocultural, similar, samey landscape. And what I learned at that point is to, rather than force an environment into something you want it to do, to spend some time just looking at that environment, working out what that environment is trying to do, and then work with it, rather than coming in with an agenda of your own.
Sustainability isn't a single project. It's embedded in how every part of this site is managed.
One way that we've incorporated sustainability into what we do that people wouldn't notice, firstly, is reducing our use of chemicals. We don't use sort of chemical fertilisers unless we absolutely have to. We use the homemade compost that we make on our site, and unless absolutely necessary, we don't use any weed killers or anything like that. We'll always, go for other options first. We also have created wildlife corridors through our sites. So we have the dead hedge up at the top of the orchard. That then connects through to the living hedge, which runs between the sites. And then we have other areas across the sites where we've got sort of covered spaces that are suitable for things like reptiles and things like that, which are generally sort of hidden away in corners that people might not spot.
From beehives to apple orchards, from heritage trees to low-impact signage, sustainability here isn't just about the gardens, it's about an ethos.
So the carbon literacy training that we offer here at the Trust is museum specific. So it was developed by the Carbon Literacy Project. It's a national training programme, and I've become an accredited carbon literacy trainer over the winter. So the work we're doing with sustainability really contributes to the wider goals that we have as an organisation. It's part of our business plan, and of course it's part of our funding. Arts Council England have a theme of environmental responsibility which runs throughout their funding, which means that we have to work on that to achieve our funding. And of course this sustainability work has extra potency for us as the Shakespeare Birthplace Trust, because we were founded by an Act of Parliament, and that Act of Parliament says that we're to preserve Shakespeare's birthplace and the other buildings associated with his life for the nation. And so of course our sustainability work is crucial for us to achieve that.
I think that really as gardeners we should be embracing both the importance of beauty in our gardens and biodiversity. One of the things that we really try to show here at Anne Hathaway's is how you can provide space for nature within your garden. Examples like the dead hedge and some of the more interesting work that we've done closer to the cottage really is there to showcase that you can have a beautiful garden while still offering space for wildlife.
Anne Hathaway's cottage is a place of history, but it's also a place of progress. Because beauty and biodiversity don't have to be at odds. Because every small action adds up. And because preserving the past only matters if we're also protecting the future. Nature isn't just a backdrop to our lives. It's part of our story. And we are a part of it.